Welcome back to that GOAT Metal Show. On today's episode, Barry and the silent producer recap some of the top metal bass players. Here's Barry for that GOAT Metal Show.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Barry, that GOAT Metal Show, with a quick summary of my favorite bass players, my top 10 favorite bass players of all time, considering at one point I did play bass for a band, for my band Golden Mets before I became the singer, and my number one is always my influence of playing, but there was other bass players who I enjoyed, and here's my top 10. Number 10, Joe Bench from Bolt Thrower. Great fucking bass player. Besides the fact that she was a female bass player and one of the few female players back in the early days of death metal, she was a fantastic bass player. Fucking phenomenal. Number 9, David Vincent from Morbid Angel. No matter what people think about him, he is a freaking great musician. You got to give him his props, man. Great live performances when he plays the bass fucking excellent. Okay? Let's talk about Steve Reynolds from Demolition Hammer. Okay? If you haven't seen Demolition Hammer play live, you hear him, but you got to see him play live. Steve Reynolds holds his own. He sings, plays bass, does a fucking fantastic job representing the Bronx. All right? Then we go with former bass player from Malevolent Creation, Jason Blackowicz. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, brother, but fantastic bass player. Performed bass on the first 3 Malevolent albums that are always staples in my life, and 10 Commandments, Retribution, and Stillborn. Great fucking albums, and he was a great bass player, man. And I'm wondering where he's at right now. I gotta go and see what's going on with him. All right. Then we are going to go to Robert Trujillo. All right. Even though he's playing Metallica, but I enjoyed his bass playing so much when he was in Suicidal. Fantastic playing, fingers. Can't go wrong with Robert, man. He's a fucking phenomenal bass player, and it's a shame how they didn't get to. I like Jason Newsted when he was in Metallica. Thought he was okay, but Robert would have probably took him to a better level when they were going through their Load era. Who knows, right? Then we go with Kronos from fucking Venom. All right, think back to those early Venom albums, man. You heard his bass heavily, all right, and it wasn't like it was good. It was heavy. That distortion he put on that bass was fucking awesome. All right, I love Kronos, man. He's fucking dope. Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse. Fucking great. Still plays fingers and makes the Cannibal sound so fucking fantastic. All right. Then we go with the master, one of the masters, Steve DiGiorgio. Great bands. He's a fucking phenomenal bass player. Still playing great bass till this day. And then the master, number 2, Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. Okay? Steve Harris, man. I mean, it's like, can't go wrong with Steve. He's influenced many. And the number 1 bass player in my life who inspired me is always going to be Cliff Burton. Cliff Burton was the master. He was the Jimi Hendrix of bass. And he will always be, to me, the greatest bass player ever. All right? All right, guys. Let me go shoot it back to Rich. Let's see what he has.
Thanks, Barry. Here's a couple of other metal bass players that stand out. We have G.C. Green from the industrial band Godflesh, bringing in thunderous, hard bass sounds. Derek Boyer from the band Suffocation, with technical, brutal death metal bass riffs. Whether it's SOD, Nuclear Assault, or Brutal Truth, Dan Lilker has always stand out as a great bass player. Shane Emery from the brutal grindcore band Napalm Death has always stood out with his intense riffs. Dave Ellefson from Megadeth has stood out specifically in the first Megadeth albums. Bringing in a weird and funky sound, Les Claypool from the band Primus has always been a standout for bass players. From Carnivore to Typo Negative, bass player Peter Steele has stood out with his gothic metal / hardcore sound. One of the early innovators of distortion speed metal bass sound is Lemmy from the band Motorhead. Making the list is Tom Araya from the American thrash band Slayer, mixing a combination of vocals and speedy thrash sounds. And one of my favorite bass players of all time is Geezer Butler from the heavy metal band Black Sabbath, mixing in early doom bass riffs. What are some of your favorite bass players? Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Don't forget about this Sith Lord's merch on Facebook. Support the underground and stay tuned for more YouTube videos on That Goat Metal Show.